Okay guys, this is gonna be the barbell sumo deadlift. I typically like to use this movement when I have online coaching clients do the deadlift because most of the time it allows a lot of flexibility of your stance and your positioning so you can figure out what position is right for you. Now I'm gonna show you both angles, but I'm gonna do everything from this starting angle first. Now, people always ask me, how wide should I be with this sumo deadlift? But at the end of the day, it depends on your hip structure. And there's a lot of different hip structures from a bone perspective in the human beings, right? So especially with females, because the Q angle from a female is bigger because they have to give birth, they can get a wider stance typically with their squats or deadlifts, things like this. But at the end of the day, what I always recommend is just listening to your body. Feel it out. Go really light at first. Try a more narrow stance. Try a wider stance. Try a really wide stance. See what you feel strongest in, what puts the least pressure on your low back and allows you to maintain a flat back while you do the deadlift, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna show you, for me, this is about my width. Now, my toes, I wanna point them out, but I don't really need to point them out more than this, unless you are very externally rotating your hips or if you're pigeon-toed, you're actually probably gonna have straight. If you have feet that kind of angle out because your ankles are rotated differently, then you'll be out wide. But again, we're just listening to our body. I can't tell you exactly how you should deadlift because your hip is different than mine, okay? So listen to your body, focus on that. So I'm gonna go about this wide, I'm gonna make sure I'm even. My grip is gonna be actually pretty narrow. Elbows are always gonna be on the inside of my knees. So I'm gonna reach straight down. What this allows me to do is push my knees out with my elbows. Therefore, I have more stability when I'm ripping the floor apart, which is key. I want to torque that floor on a squat, deadlift, anything. I want to torque the floor with my legs, and this helps drive it out. Now, I'm going to use an alternate grip. You can do alternate each way, whatever's comfortable. You can also do both flat, pronated. This allows you to engage the lats a little bit more, but the whole time, no matter what grip you do, except this, because supinated is not okay in this situation, I want to bend the bar. So if I bend the bar, what happens to my shoulder blades? They pull back. My lats engage more. I can also think about spreading my clavicle apart. But the whole point is I'm trying to think, I always used to say Superman, right? I'm ripping off my shirt, Superman style, but I'm getting that tall chest to make sure that my lats are engaged. Having my lats engaged will make sure my back is more flat and I have more stability in this lift because I'm gonna have more strength holding that weight. So I'm gonna sit back into it. Now, you can hopefully see that there's a lot of wiggle room in this bar. So when you go to grab your barbell, you'll notice that you can kind of wiggle it. Before you even lift, you need to pull that wiggle room out. We call it the pull before the pull. What this does is allows me to get all that tension out, drive it into my lats, my heels, my glutes, my hamstrings. Everything is loaded, and I don't jerk into it. So what we don't want to do is lift off the ground, rounding our shoulders, rounding our back, pulling our back. We want to create that tension. So before I do anything, I'm going to get that pull before the pull, and when I do that, I'm already going to be working. When I'm in the isolated sumo stance, I'm already working because my glutes, hamstrings, lats, everything is so loaded that it feels like I'm doing a deadlift in that position already, okay? And that's good. So I'm going to pull, get that tension out. I have a lot of tension in the bar. I'm sitting into it. I'm going to thrust my hips through, get tall by pulling my shoulders back, reach back into it, letting my chest fall down, keeping the bar very close to my thighs, okay? So from a side view, same thing. I'm wider. Notice the bar is touching my shins. I know a lot of people who deadlift very well and their shins are messed up because they're all scraped from deadlifting. But that also tells me that they probably have really good form, because I want this close. What that does is lets my shoulders glide back, again, keeping my back flatter. It also makes me push my hips back further, ensuring that my knees are not coming forward on the deadlift, which is key, okay? So I'm loaded up in this position. This is where my hips want to sit. They're not super high like RDL, but they're not super low like a conventional or a trap bar deadlift or squat. So I'm still getting that hamstring stretch. I'm going to get that pull before the pull. My lats are engaged. Get tall at the top. Slide it down my thighs, tap, come back into it, okay? Keeping that back as flat as possible, sitting back into that lift as much as possible. That is the sumo deadlift.